Welcome to Season 9 of the Prosthetics and Orthotics Podcast. This is where we chat with experts in the field, patients who use these devices, physical therapists, and the vendors who make it all happen. Our goal? To share stories, tips, and insights that ultimately help our patients get the best possible outcomes. Tune in and join the conversation. We are thrilled you are here and hope it is the highlight. Hello, everyone. I am super excited about this episode. I'm going to make sure that everything is going live here. All right. So a couple things that went into all of this. So Joris and I did a bunch of interviews, actually probably about close to 20 interviews. And I'm going to bring him here in live as well. Hey, Joris. I was just kind of giving a little bit of background on kind of what went into some of this. So Joris and I met the first day just to make sure some of the sound stuff and all that worked. And I was actually pleasantly surprised that it...
Dude, I don't think we could have done that without you. Could have done actually without the Plantronics stuff. I think I've tried to record before on shows, and trade shows is one of the worst things ever. Big rooms, a lot of echo, a lot of people walking around, a lot of sound, overhead announcements. These things are amazing. Really amazing.
It was crazy. Like, I had to stop because the overhead announcement was so loud, and you were like, "Why are you stopping?"
Yeah, exactly. Why are you not talking? I'm confused. So those things are great, and I think. So on the technical thing, I think we got lucky with using those Plantronics headsets. And of course, the guys helped a lot by giving you kind of your own little room, your own little space.
Yeah. And we had the 3D printed chairs by Dive Designs. Yep. Those were pretty cool. So nice. I'm gonna bring some of these up, but we've got probably not as many categories as we had last year, right? I pared them down a little bit. We kept on going and going. I mean, it's still probably 17 or 18.
Okay. But first, just about AOPA generally, what do you think? Are you more jazzed up than usual? Are you much more positive? Was it kind of a downer? What was your overall feeling?
Overall feeling was I feel, pretty excited about some things. There were some things that I hadn't seen before that I'm really excited about, and so that's like the best of show. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to touch on that, and I hope that we're going to give them a little bit of a little bit of a boost because they're not in the U.S. market. I don't want to give too much away here.
Okay.
But I'm super excited about that. So I'm actually going to go ahead and bring this presentation up, and so it'll be a lot like last year where we have just, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. But you were there for the journey of those interviews where we were just like, it was like a train, man. It was like, it just crazy. Kept on going. How was that for you?
I thought it was amazing. I didn't know, like, you did a great job, dude. You did an awesome job lining up all those people. The people did a great job as well, showing up on time, leaving on time, that kind of thing. I thought that cat herding element there went really, really well.
Yeah.
Because you always have people, especially at shows, like they show up late, they don't come, they forget because it's a show and they're somewhere else,
Yeah.
And so I thought that whole thing was amazing, dude. And I just thought, and I didn't know how many people, so I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll talk a little bit. There was another person. Oh, this guy, I know this guy. And then I'm like, there's another one. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I can stay around for another one. And then I'm like, oh, there's another one. I think I ended up eating at like 9 o'clock at night or something, like 9:30, which is not
well,
normal for Spain, but not for me.
Hopefully your girlfriend gave you a little bit of grace there. So anyway,
but hey, it was great, dude. I thought, and it really validates the approach of being able to being there, helping the show. I think helping these people get their word out, and also being able to get this many people live in such a short, like for them, it's also a really easy interview. They're there anyway. They walk in, sit down, talk to you. 10, 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later, they're gone. Nothing is that fast. Any other interview is going to take a lot more time planning and rescheduling and all this stuff. So I think it's a really, really great. And I'm astounded that it went this well.
You had your, to be honest, when I was setting up, I was like, I had it in my head how it was going to go. and it didn't quite go that way technology wise.
Yeah.
And we were kind of just able to bring it all together. And so that was
awesome,
fun.
dude.
So,
and did you get good responses on it as well? Like
really,
we put it online and people were positive in the comments, I think.
Very positive in the comments. And you know, it was live. And what's crazy is, you know, that last one that we did was almost 3 hours long. And there's a lot of views on it. So, you know, obviously you can scrub through it and see what you want there, but yeah. So, well, let's get going here. So these slides are not beautiful, so very homemade looking, and because that's what it is. It was a homemade.
The second AOPA Awards.
Yep. So let me get over here.
It's the second year already.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's crazy.
All right. So I'm going to share this.
Time is accelerating anyway. Like August was just like, right. Already midway in September. And I'm like, what is happening? So it's like, it's crazy anyway.
So this is kind of a throw to, you know, the Ignite everything. It wasn't these colors, but it was very colorful. So our first award was a double diamond person. And it was Alps. And so you might not have noticed, but in the background behind it was always the Alps booth. Yeah. And Alps always shows up big for these shows. And I actually need to catch his last name. They have a Nick who worked with them for them, super energetic, very knowledgeable about their products, super friendly. And I just felt like it was they were positioned right, you know, when you come into the show, and it was just a great, beautiful booth, a great way to like step foot into the show. Boom, you're there, you're hearing the orthotic prosthetic stuff, and they had some new stuff to show. So they had a new liner, and they had a knee as well, and so I thought that was really great.
And did you like the booth design as well? Did you just like that generally that it was pretty, or did it have just a layout that really was inviting and kind of really enticed people in, let's say?
Yeah, and I don't know if this makes sense, but it was a big booth, but there were sections where you could have a private conversation with somebody that was with it. So I thought they just had done a really nice job with it.
Yeah, you have these big booths that are just like, whoa, but they're not really engaging. And you have these big booths with like the cool people area, and then everybody else is like out. But I think booths designed for people because there's always people that just want to come in, they want to learn, they want to do their own thing, they don't want to talk to anyone, you know, they just want to learn, they want to touch or feel stuff, do their own investigation, and make their own decision, you know?
Yep.
And there's people that want to talk and they want to ask, like, this is more you and me, I think. They want to be like, okay, what do you mean? Who is this? Why are you doing this? You know?
Yep.
And I think the idea when you cater to both those groups of the independent investigation folks and the I want to engage with someone folks, then I think it's a really, really good idea from a trade show perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. So the next one, you'll get a kick out of this one. Yeah. Creative furniture. Nice. It had to be dive design, the 3D printed.
It's just corruption, Brent. This is corruption.
So what's interesting, though, is it wasn't actually my idea. I didn't even think about this, but this is from Al from Mitsubishi. No. He thought this was really cool, and it might be a little bit of corruption on his side because it was Mitsubishi PETG, glass-filled PETG that was put into those chairs. So it might be a little bit that he wanted a little bit of a shout-out to. But Dive Design, Adam from Dive Design, Decibel Furniture, super cool things, and they were actually very, very comfortable. So it was very cool.
Do you see any applications for wide, medium format, large format?
You know, the only thing that I can really think of is maybe like the spinal side of things, and this is an interesting conversation that I had with somebody. Though it was like, and it was actually Al himself. He was like, you know, last year I was like looking around and I'm like, man, you can 3D print all this. And then when you have the discussion of like how we actually make certain things, have molds, vacuum form, it's like, you know what? 3D printing probably isn't the right solution for that because you already have a good solution. And so those are conversations worth having. Like you can literally do a spinal brace in, you know, 8 minutes to carve it. And if you've got the plastic in, you know, half an hour for the plastic to cool after you vacuum form it, you cut it out, under an hour, you could potentially have a body jacket ready to go, where you're going to be waiting, even in the medium format side of things, 5-6 hours, and you still have to trim it out. So it's a little bit of I would say give and take. And so for spinal stuff, it actually probably doesn't make sense to do that.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is like adaptive furniture. Like if you need a bath, but you don't want to like throw out your whole bath, but you want some bath and you have paralysis on the left side or something, and you want to be able to come in and out of the bath by yourself.
Yeah, whatever. I think it's interesting, and there's definitely custom stuff along with that. But it goes back to that conversation that we had a while ago. Like that becomes like a premium line that only certain people could afford, and that's okay, right?
Yeah, but no one's bringing the cost down. I think there is an opportunity there to do that inexpensively.
Okay, so best presentation.
Okay, I have no idea.
There was a lot of great presentations, but when I think of best presentation, it was a person that captivates a room, right? Mm-hmm. And there was literally no one on their phone. They were all watching, finding out, what was going on, and that was Katie Richmond. And we actually interviewed Katie not too long ago. She does work for Advanced 3D, but this is not corruption. I promise you. She held the people's attention and did an amazing job. And people after her talk and after everything, you should have seen the people kind of like start swarming to find out more about that. So always good. All right.
And did she do like, was there something like, because we're always trying to be better presenters, right? Was there something she did that you think was really good, that was really good from a presenter perspective?
Well, I thought what was really cool, and I know it's the rule of threes, but she had like 3 very different applications of additive manufacturing that literally hit that no one in the room would not have come across one of these applications. And so I think it really just helped people be like, oh, yeah, I think we could do this or that. And it just opens up this idea of additive manufacturing as a tool to solve problems that are otherwise difficult to solve with traditional manufacturing.
Okay.
So I thought it was good. Now this one is on you, Joris. We could. That's why I left it blank.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Like the best interview for the podcast? Which one stuck out? And you can say like, "Hey,
we need to have our audience know that you ambush me with this stuff all the time."
Yep. So that's the premise of the show, right?
Yeah, I know. But they probably don't know. They don't know. I'm here. I'm just like, I get the link like 3 minutes before, like running, like, oh wow, water, and then I come here and it's like, what were your best interview? Like, what?
This is perfect. That's why I left it blank.
Oh wow, dude.
So we had a bunch of CEOs, right?
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun, and
so I didn't do all of them because you did some.
But let's just talk Let's talk the Saturday one, where the kind of the marathon one. We had Paul from MyOMO. He was great. Talking about the ringing of the bell on the stock exchange and all that. And then you have some of the other ones that are younger entrepreneurs. So I think having that gamut was pretty great. And I'm going to take out the cop out. I would say that all of them were great.
Sure.
What stuck out to you in all those, like even a theme wise? So I remember you saying like, it's amazing that people have, they're all entrepreneurs, right? With different visions, different thoughts about what to do. And they all have their ways to do it. I think the other surprising thing is, most of these people were not clinicians. They're CEOs and they're professional CEOs, right? So some of them were inventors. Oh, I know which one you probably like the most. You like putting your hand up to the screen and watching the fingers move on that hand for a Psyonic.
That was really good. That was as a demo went. I didn't know about this. I did not know about this at all. You were like, "Oh, I've seen this before." I had not seen this. So I think as a demo, as like a live demo to do all the time, I thought that was fantastic, dude.
Okay.
I thought that was really, really good. I thought that was really good. And then I'm trying to find out, like, I'm trying to look at like who else, who do we have?
So we had
Cigar was nice.
Yeah. Spentys, LP from Spentys.
Yeah, Louis-Philippe Bros from Spentys. I thought he was super likable and very clear.
Yeah.
And he was complaining about he wanted to learn more Americanism and stuff. But I think it was actually really, like, the French is always adorable. The French kind of accent's really adorable. So I thought he was really clear. And he seemed really approachable and open, you know?
Yeah.
So I really like that in the sense that when I asked a question, I didn't think I was getting like a boilerplate answer. I thought he was like really like talking to me, you know?
Yeah.
And I thought that was really good. I thought he was really, so Ideal, of course, the Psyonic was really good. I like the Icebomb thing as well, the Dutch guy with a mechanical kind of tremors kind of device. Because I think 9 out of 10 people, but that was not so much the interview. The interview was okay, but the device, you know, where I was like, you know, if you would have just asked us or any other people to design a device for people with tremors generally, or we would look at motors, we would look at the dampening compensation. I would probably look at all sorts of 3D printed dampeners and stuff like that. It's just so low tech, but then ingenious that I think is kind of wonderful. But that's more of the device. I think the interview was okay, but clearly he wasn't as practiced as the other guys were.
Yep.
I thought also the other Psyonic employee, she was really nice. She's
Anika was great. Yeah,
she was the patient advocate person.
Yep,
I thought she was really, really great. I don't know, dude.
Yeah, well, I think that
I'm gonna have to go with Psyonic for the demo because I just think that's brilliant.
Yep,
I think that's brilliant, and also the Psyonic for the demo. So I deal with the demo because I thought that was just really nice, and it really kind of made me think of like all these because I've had these headsets on, right? The ones where you stick to your head. I've had these hairband kind of things on as well, and for me it was really like, oh wow, we can do this in a computer vision type of way, much less invasive, much less pervasive, like as in you could do it anywhere maybe, and you wouldn't have to plug into another device on your head, right?
Right.
So I like that very, very much.
Okay. Well, let's go to the next one here.
Yeah.
Best new material. It's not a new material, but
oh my God, right. No, this is all like
PK 5000. So here's the crazy thing. You know, a powder bed fusion we know creates great definitive style devices, but there's always this like safety factor, some would say impact resistance that's necessary for stuff. And so I just had a couple samples there. And this may be breaking news for you, Joris. So Luke Rogers, who was the kind of the president of Jabil Polymers, that sort of thing, actually has spun off that polymer division to a new division called Loomis Polymers.
But is it within Jabil? Or
no, it's outside of Jabil.
Ah. Okay.
So this
is
for
people that don't know, because that's another thing. Like Jabil had Jabil does a lot of 3D printing for clients, right? There's a contract manufacturer, really large. They have like, they'll do like the best example I can come up with. They buy like 2,000 CNC machines on unibody MacBooks to drill them all out, that kind of thing. And they had a 3D printing thing that they made printers. They made printers for other people, and they made material, and they did the service for contract manufacturing services. And now that the material part where they did powder bed fusion and filament materials, and they developed some really interesting ones. They spun out that, and I didn't know about the spin out. I knew that they were thinking about that, but I didn't know it actually happened.
Yeah,
so that's really cool.
So we're going to actually have Luke on very soon, and he'll be able to tell us a little bit more about it. But people's eyes got really big, like this type of material and the flexibility of it. Just raised a lot of eyebrows, and this is like, hey, this is what we've been looking for a long time in powder bed fusion. So
you've been testing this, and it's a extremely high strength but still processable material. And also, people may not know this, but we have talked about this on the podcast as well, and some stuff like some of the high strength powder bed fusion materials, like PEEK is what you think of, PEC. The problem with there is your recycling rate is low, so you basically have to throw away the whole build. So you have usually you've got parts, you've got powder lying around, and the powder, it gets built up along with the parts, and then you just recycle it a certain amount of time. And as you know, Brent, more than a lot of people, that recycle rate is really big impact on your bottom line. And it has a really, really big impact. If you can recycle more material, if you can put it in there a couple more times or put more in there, it's much more profitable. You actually and typically we used to always say that people will throw away about half of the material unused. And if you're buying that stuff like $100 a kilo, or sometimes it's 200 and something, whatever, right? Then of course that really adds up.
Yeah.
But these recycling rates are really key to profitability. And with the high strength stuff, you can recycle nothing.
Yeah.
So you're throwing away the whole build, right? All the support stuff, you're throwing it away, and it's super expensive. And with these materials, you're getting the high strength properties, and still you can recycle, still you can support it properly, still you don't have a lot of warpage. So it's like, I think for the user, it's really cool, but also for the service, that this is really, really beautiful material. It's really been developed to be made and to be used, not just been developed because these guys had a grade or something lying around. They're like, oh, okay, we got we make 3 tons an hour of this stuff. Let's find something to do with it. You know?
Well, and Ani, the Psyonic user experience person, was wearing a socket with this.
Really?
So it was really great.
Yeah, because you've been testing this, right? And you love it.
I really do. So it's really great. And I truly believe, so I've talked to a couple people, and I truly believe that they are it is the most recyclable material. So you can actually regrind it, and it can be injection molded. So like literally you can use every single bit of this material. So
you should try it. See if you can turn it into filament. So
that is next. Yes.
Yeah. You should get a 3D Evo one or something. Like if you can get a 3D Evo machine, right. Try it at home. All right.
All
cool.
right.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome, dude.
One, we've had Mike on and Ryan on from Filament Innovations. They have the Filament Innovations Icarus, the new generation with the Dies Designs hardware, but then they also have the new pellet extruder, the Atom. That is up and going, and I know that Mike spent a ton of time getting that thing ready for the show, and so I think that's great. So it's a beautiful machine. They were cranking out sockets, all kinds of sockets, and doing it relatively inexpensive. Once you factor in the cost of the machine, the material cost was very low.
Yeah, I like that. I like that pellets reduce the material cost. And the problem's always been getting something out there. You don't have to mill for like a week and a half, So making it kind of doable in the final finish, and also getting the inlay adhesion right to make it actually strong. Right. Yeah, that gives us moseying along down to the final socket kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Towards. Let's say towards.
I'm going to try something really quick because I just saw this come up in my preview screen. So I'm going to stop that, and I'm actually going to flip this.
Oh wow,
look at this. Ooh. So if I come over here, I can actually show it here.
We're gonna be broadcast TV stuff. We're gonna have
heck yeah, man.
Anchors and like desks and stuff.
Okay, so the next one is one of we've had Matt and Dale on, and this is kind of comes as no surprise, best independent manufacturer, and that is the guys from Coyote.
Okay, but I now see the best use of pellets slide, right?
Okay, so because I'm I forgot to put my mouse back. There we go. Best independent manufacturer.
I love Coyote. Okay, so my problem is I don't know that many other independent manufacturers.
Well, that's true.
You know what I mean? And I really like the guy, the guy that wouldn't stop talking. With this whole systematic way of doing things and by building things. And what was his name again?
Dale.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I like him as well.
Yeah.
I think what he's doing is really, he has a very kind of, we always look at innovators and inventors as being kind of like this eureka moment kind of people. Like, it's like, it's a befuddled professor. Now this guy no, dude, we're like,
yep.
It's a process.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So I like him too, but hey, Coyote's super sympathetic company, super smart products, and a broad range of stuff as well. Like a crazy broad range of stuff, from the basalt stuff to the to the closure mechanism, stuff like that. I think it's more all over the place than somebody saying like, "Hey, I'm going to make this one AFO thing and then keep making stuff around it."
Yep.
So I think that's really good.
Okay. You're going to love this next one, and you have no idea about them. It's a company called Radii.
No, sounds really cool.
Okay,
Plus 10 startup points for Gryffindor.
So yeah, and that means a lot coming from you, Joris, because you sure do tend to give some people a hard time. We won't mention them, but hey. So what's cool about them is they have taken scan data that was before something has been modified, and they have the modified model, put it together into a machine learning AI-ish type of thing. So
it's like Fourier fast transform with like AI or what?
Yeah. So what you do is you take a scan.
I know what they did. They did inside outside. They did inside outside. They gamified inside outside. So they're on the normals or not? No,
I'm not exactly sure what they did, but it was amazing. So you take a scan of your patient's limb. Yeah. And then they will actually apply their model to it, give you some suggested ways to modify. So you can use the way that it comes out of the learning model, or you can take some of those things away and add your own. But nonetheless, there's some sliders and things of that nature that make it very quick that get to a final model. And here's where it gets really interesting is when they did their study. So they did like, hey, the prosthetist fits their version of the leg, and they fit their version of the leg out of the model. It was a smaller study. I believe it was like 30 or 31 patients. All 31 patients that were in their socket based off of their model walked and were comfortable. And it's amazing. So and here's the deal. Even though there's shapes that necessarily I wouldn't necessarily quote unquote agree with or what have you, guess what they have that I don't have? Data.
Yeah.
They have the measurements and the outcomes that go along together. And so the reality is they're more science-based than anybody. And so really cool company.
I've never heard of it, dude. Never heard of it.
Well, we'll have to have them on. So, we didn't.
It's a question time before somebody does like the inside outside face normals and then solves it like chest or whatever, and then reconstructs the mesh like that. They're waiting for that. So I thought it was maybe they did that. But okay, I like this, dude. This looks like a really valuable kind of tool.
So we did this last year, and I thought it went really well. And I say best advocate professor, and we had Chad Duncan on last year. This is Adrian Hill, Dr. Adrian Hill, and she was great. So I had never really had much of a conversation with her, and then we kind of started talking at one of the closing of the shows right after I was tearing down the podcast stuff and that sort of thing. And the thing that stuck with me, we were just talking about some of the challenges with education and such, but I really appreciate what she does to bridge the clinical and some of the business side of things. And so one of the things that we talked about was like people just coming into the field that are new, they may be fitting their patient and having a good outcome, but what you get reimbursed, let's say, is $1,000, but you pay $1,100 for that device. Well, you're better off, lighting $100 bill on fire because there's so much that goes into this. And so what she does with her students, it's like a pass or fail. Does it code or not? Does it work or not? And so what it is you have a mock patient that you say, hey, that you need to provide this device. And so it's got to be clinically relevant with the right components. And then you also have to make it work, make it to where you have a profit. So then you have to look at the components and the labor and all this. And that is super important. And so I just really appreciated kind of that perspective of it.
And the idea of doing that, not the first time live, and also knowing that that's a thing, that you can't just put all the Rolls Royce stuff everywhere,
Yeah.
Or you're not going to only be fitting this myoelectric amazing stuff everywhere because, hey, it's not going to work for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think it's cool, dude. I think it's cool. Good idea. Good choice.
So, we had Paul Gadonis on, the very first one, who was the CEO of MyOMO.
Yeah.
It was great, and I believe so. They started early. I think it was 2011 is what he said, and then he came on with 2014. They're so far ahead of the curve in research, specifically around this exoskeleton, what works, what doesn't work, designs, some of the speed bumps. They have a roadmap that they want to get to of things making better. They're growing like crazy. So I really had to give best R&D because they're looking at this as the long-term sort of thing to MyOMO. And I think one of the most, it was a great question on your part, but I think it was very telling also on Paul's part, is you said, well, somebody's going to come in and gobble you up. And he pretty much said, we think we've got something so special that we're going to be one of those big companies very soon.
Yeah. I like that. I know why you're saying this, because you're always like, it's easy to go to like the new kid with a shiny new toy. It's always nice to say some new kid be like, oh wow, we did this thing. And these guys are more like kind of like, proving it out and grinding it out long term. I like that. I understand. You make things yourself, so you understand that this is a very different approach and much more difficult, really.
Well,
anyone can make something that works until the paint dries,
Yeah. Well, not only do you, like in this case, I think they've done some interesting things. So they have a medical director, they've got this commercial director, they have compliance, because all this stuff has to work together along with the FDA. And that's really a pain because it's a class 2 device. And so there's so much. So I think for them, they have the machine to collect the data, which is necessary to get it out and be compliant with the FDA. But then on the same thing, you're going to be able to start making better and better products, stair-stepping along the way.
Okay. No, that's valuable. Again, it comes back to what you said, data, more data, better product.
Yep. All right. This one will be quick. The best restaurant within walking distance was this excellent one called Dos Caminos. It was an excellent Mexican restaurant.
Okay.
So
Dos
there you
Caminos.
go.
Okay.
Dos Caminos. So you were talking about booth design and such. I thought HP did a really nice job. They had Dimension. So I'm hearing some music. Is that on your side or is that on my side?
That's on my side. I live next to it's actually perfect. Too weird. It's too weird. So I live in the center of Valencia, like the dead center of the city, right? And next to me there's this communist foundation. And they managed to somehow in the 1800s get a building in the center of town. And they do like food and like worker council stuff. It's like actual communists, like really like actual true believer communists.
Right.
And they have great lunch. If you want to go, I'll take you if you come. And they also have music lessons and pianos, stuff like this to elevate the worker and have choral stuff and all this.
Oh, that's
so every once in a while.
We get music. So I wasn't planning on the background track, but
and there's
I was like, do I have another window open? I mean, I don't think YouTube's open or anything. Okay, so
there's a level difference. There's like one guy on Mondays. It's like a class, like an advanced class, and we're always like sticking back with a book, being like, "Wow." And then there's the guys that do like the the repeat stuff all over and over again. It's like, yeah, no.
So we were talking about booths and how important it was, and I think HP really hit it out of the park. They had Dimension there, they had Lubrizol there, and then they had Nate from the computational design side of things there. And I thought they just did a wonderful job kind of bringing everybody together. We had, they had a lot of stuff from Quorum, some stuff from Leopoly, some stuff from just Poto. So it just a lot of different things that were in that booth. And so it was super interactive too. So it's something that you can pick up, touch, feel, and everybody was so friendly there too. So I thought,
I think HP booths always have a ton of models there. And I think at least for the 3D printing industry, it totally makes sense. Just put a ton of stuff there and then see what people do with it,
Yep. All right.
Yeah, good play.
So you may or may not know this name. I say the additive advocate. So Shinden, and I don't know, Johannes, I would say that's about, but he's with Form Labs. and they always have a great booth too. But he is always so excited about different types of manufacturing, that sort of thing. And he's kind of the face of Form Labs, and he's 3D printing everything all the time and getting out there and just educating people around it. And I got to know him just a little bit more this show, and it is just so genuine, about additive manufacturing. And obviously he works for Form Labs, but it also opens up a lot of other opportunities for conversation around additive manufacturing, pros and cons, that sort of thing. So, I think Form Labs got a good one in Shinden for sure.
How do you see like Form Labs? Are they making inroads now? Are people more looking at it for small devices, for prototyping, for stuff like that? So are they looking like the Fuse in a big way?
Yeah, so I think that Form Labs is interesting. It's got a small build volume, but I can't help, and nobody has told me this, but I can't help to think that once they kind of get this part down, especially with their acquisition of the other group, that the one that was going to do the $3,000 SLS printer, I can't imagine that there's something that's not a little bit bigger to really kind of compete with some of the stuff that HP is doing or far soon that they can do. And, now they've got some of the materials, the polypropylene and some of the polyamides. But guess what? They put nitrogen on their machine, which means they could run PK 5000 if they wanted to. And so I believe that if their machine runs that, it then starts getting very interesting, not only for the orthotic and prosthetic industry, but for those that are looking to do small parts on those machines that they want to act like polypropylene, so automotive and that sort of thing. So I definitely see a future if they validate PK 5000 on their machine. I definitely see a future where contract manufacturers, will choose to run a fleet of these for small parts. And that might be a pie in the sky thing, but it's just,
No, I think if the right part, so things like doing like a large voluminous parts is not great, but if like orthoses maybe, or something like a splint brace kind of thing, I think there could be a lot of stuff there. If you did like as a business, if you did like braces, which we have to talk about this separately, these kind of open braces, if that's a good idea or not.
Yeah.
But imagine, and you fill it with other stuff that you print for other people, whatever keychains, I don't care. The economics will just start to add up really quickly, really, really well, and especially if you want to do it locally.
Yeah,
like I talked to like a Dutch guy who has a service that does 3D printing orthoses, and they have like 125 points in the Netherlands where they sell these things. And for them, it's like, okay, when do we print on location and when not? And for that kind of businesses, could be really exciting.
Yeah, agreed. Best collaborating company. We have not had Paul Przyskowski on from AOPA, but they had probably one of the most creative booths. And he had a massive, like, large screen TV because it was so college football and NFL football were playing. So it was just kind of like a magnet for the people that want to watch football too. So, but they just they interact with all these companies. So all the companies that they are the electronic medical records for the O&P industry. And there's a few others, but they're the main one. And they, so like they have an ordering system that there's all your main companies that you order from are integrated into them. So like you don't have to go and call Coyote and then call Bulldog and then go call Oser and Autobach. Like you can do it right there on the web. And they're always going out and finding these companies. And so they've integrated with Comb recently. They've integrated with Radii. And they've also integrated with some people that do like data capture. So you can take a video of your patient walking and then you can break it down and draw lines, almost like training lines, and creating data points to help yourself get paid from the insurance company. And so not only are they trying to create this like little, or I say big, tribe of people that are helping each other. And these are independent companies helping each other, essentially clinicians. But now they're kind of putting their money where their mouth is. They're having a presence here, and their booth is always great. But this year it was really great, and trying to attract and become like a family. So not only outside of these conferences, but then they're doing mastermind groups and all this stuff. So when you get together, it's like, oh, hey, Bob, hey, John, hey, it's so good to see you. You know, it's only been a few months, but now you're throwing a party at the AOPA, booth, and people are coming in and hanging out and that sort of thing. So I think it's a neat and it's a great way to go.
Interesting approach. Super interesting approach. Like be the nexus, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Last year we did this, the Wise Owl Award, and that went to Jen. And so this year it's going to go to Mitchell Dobson. You weren't on that, but he is part of like compliance and that sort of stuff for Hanger, but he's also the president of AOPA, which was the show that we went to. And I thought his insight was really great. He's been in the field for a long time, I think he said 28 years, and he's been volunteering for AOPA for that long as well. And I just love his perspective and how he's trying to get everybody together. And I know we say it all the time, the rising tide lifts all ships, and that's what it's about. Even though part of a bigger company, Hanger Prosthetics and Orthotics, we need all the independents to also raise up as well. And doing this through AOPA was great. So if you have a chance, check out the interview. But I thought it was great. I thought his insight was great into how do we get the younger generation more involved. How do we get more coverage? So one of the things right now is people that have an amputation can only get one prosthesis in a lot of states. And so the insurance will not cover for them to have a sports prosthesis or something they can be active in, because they're two different ones. Like you wear your walking shoes, right? Or your dress shoes, and that you're not going to go run in your dress shoes, but insurance companies say, I don't care. You're going to be active in your walking prosthesis. And that's really not the right approach. And so AOPA has really taken charge of this. I forget so everybody can move. That's what the initiative is. So everybody can move. It's a grassroots at the state level to try to get people moving, because there was a story that I was a part of a little panel, and this guy lost, because he had a prosthesis, lost 50 pounds. So he was in bitter health. He got off of medication, that sort of thing. And he wouldn't have had that opportunity unless he had a prosthesis that he could move more in. And that's not your everyday prosthesis.
Okay, that's a good point, dude. And I think, imagine doing this for this long as well. I like that very much. Mitchell's point about like, one thing's doing this for a couple of years, but doing this for 28 years to bring about change gradually. This is like your 20th talking point, that you're working on over a decade. I like that very much.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, and you already foreshadowed it, even though you didn't know that we were going to do it. But the best of show.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah.
Was STIL.
You think so? Yeah.
Oh, that was the best brace.
That's good. Yeah. I like the alignment on this. Yeah.
Yeah. So you foreshadowed it. You almost blew it. I don't know, but I'm glad you didn't go too far down the road. I was going to have to hold you back, rein you in a little bit. But a super innovative use, and so I think it's a couple things, right? So it's definitely a problem that affects a lot of people with the tremor side of things, but also the use of additive manufacturing in the brace was very novel. So he used a lot of assemblies, a lot of hybrid type of things. So some fabrics along with the brace itself, and then all the innovation that goes into that, whatever that mechanism was that allows the flexion extension, pronation, supination, flexion extension, all that. It's really incredible that there's no motors. It's very lightweight. It was wild. And so, and I know this is not, this was their first time, I think, at AOPA, but they've been working on this device for a long time. In fact, it's not even in the US yet. But I mean, for me, with everything that we like, the additive manufacturing, something novel, something that is effective, something that can be paid for in cash if your insurance company doesn't cover it. Like I forget what the cost was. I don't know if you remember what it was. $2,000. So like, if it makes that much of a difference, which I believe it does for the people that have tremors, I think they're going to find $2,000. I really do. And I think, and so I think that there is an opportunity here for something good. So, and I think you did a nice job describing the product and the when we had him on the podcast. I think it was great.
Yeah, we should have him on the podcast like permanent, like a in-depth episode, because I think most people would have thought, just like we would, okay, we have sensors, these muscle spasms, the sensor goes to a feedback, and you know what I mean? We would have made some kind of like robot for the hand, and then another thing to charge, and then all of a sudden you have to be like, can I take it in the shower? And then you have to IPv6 it or whatever, and they just made it a complete mechanical thing. Yeah. And I think it's beautiful. I think it's very elegant, and it's really difficult to do stuff that's that elegant. That actually works, right?
Yeah.
And no batteries, no worrying about knocking it against somebody if you're playing lacrosse or like, I know these guys are going to play lacrosse, but you know what I mean? It's like world proof,
Yeah.
I like that very much.
Yeah. Well, so, we didn't have as many as we did last year, but I thought this was a good kind of roundup of the whole thing.
Nice.
I'm just trying to think of like if any other things that I really stuck out. Rapid liquid print was definitely in the whole thing. They had a really nice booth, some nice showing and that sort of thing. I thought they did a nice job, and getting to meet them was really great too. And
I like the team a lot. I like the people a lot, and I also like, this is one of these things that's going to take some time to percolate through. And people are going to be like, what can I do with this? But if you look at like little bumpers and dampeners and little cushions and stuff like that, grommet type of things, it's really going to be one of those things where this is something that we could use in our arsenal. And it's going to take a while for people to figure out what works, what size, what price point, and all this. But I think it's beautiful technology. Yeah.
And so there were a couple others. So Proteor had a nice booth. We haven't had any of their guys on yet, but I'm hoping to. They have really moved into the digital space and kind of the iPad, and you can modify things, scan things. Everything can be done on the iPad. So that's pretty neat. The other interesting one that they've been around for a little while actually is Prosthetics. So we haven't had them on either. We need to do that. But so they have a model, and I think you'd really appreciate that, where they will put in a printer into your office for free, right? And you have a subscription, and then you will do the scan. You'll send the scan to them. They will modify it and then send the file back to your printer and print it, and then literally you take it off the printer and go fit it on the patient. So.
I like that. What's the printer like? Is it like kind of like a Creality or something? Or what
so is it? Currently it's a modified Lulzbot. So it's a USA made, but it's modified in the Z, so you can get up a little bit higher. And so it works. It's not a super expensive printer, but it's a great way to minimize your CapEx. Mm-hmm. Getting into this, and you've got somebody kind of coming along with you. So, having that conversation with them.
Okay, that'd be exciting as well. Talk about that. Like, for example, do they have like a whole room of dudes modifying all these scans, or do they have some magical software to do it?
So I think it's dudes and dudettes, right? Mm-hmm. Doing the modification, and it's almost like the 3D system side of things. So, like, if you have a relationship with Bob, then Bob's the one that you're going to be communicating the most to do the modifications and on that. So I think it takes a little bit of a page out of the 3D systems, patient specific implant and all that stuff, the medical stuff. So yeah. And then I think, lastly, the AOPA people just did an amazing job with the show, not only with all the content. I mean, can you imagine trying to get, like, you've got, I don't even know how many rooms they had going, and you've got to have content and moderators and all that to keep the time and recording stuff. So they recorded a lot of this voice and slides sort of thing. And so I got to know that team a little bit more, and just to kind of hear their heartbeat of what they're trying to do. I mean, super genuine people and really wanting to take this field to the next level. And so, yeah, it was a really great experience on my end. And you know how it is, like when you meet people in person, it's definitely different than meeting people over Zoom or whatever. You get more of a sense of their presence, their you get to hear their heart.
Who they are,
right there.
whatever.
Yeah. It was just really, really great. And then, Comb Scan was in that conversation as well. They won an award last year for a collaborator award, and they did the same thing again this year. It was really great. And I think John even chuckles. He goes, "It's so easy that yours can do it." So you said that.
I suck at scanning. I hate scanning, dude. I hate it. It's just going so wrong. Like, very few things have cost me as much time as scanning has cost me. So really, I mean this. If I can do this, you're golden, man.
Yeah. Shining 3D was there as well. So they've been kind of coming and unlike some of the other scanner companies, it seems like they're really investing the time and energy into understanding our space. So I really appreciate that sort of thing too. So those are the things. Those are kind of my thoughts off the top of my head on that. Just we probably don't. We talk about the technology and all that stuff, but all this is about is the people that make the technology work. And so meeting the people, the human capital, so to speak, that was really special. Oh, the other company that was interesting was Bionit. So it's a hand company.
Yeah.
And they have this, they drive all the fingers with 2 motors somehow through some sort of magic, but it's also fully waterproof. So it's a very interesting device. And the way they do their grip patterns is very interesting too. So it's some of it has to do with how the hand is being held. So for instance, if you put your hand down, your hand knows that it's probably going to go into some sort of grip that's going to hold like a bag or something like that.
Because you're going to go like this, or you're going to go like this to grab something, or you're going to go like that. Oh, I like this. This is
right.
So obvious, but okay,
yeah. So they've put a lot of thought into that, and I think having some of that, 100%, yeah. So like some of the machine, the engine of some of that is really neat. So I thought we had spoke with Jerry Stark. And he's always a fun person to talk about. And I would say this is the last one that I thought was interesting is there were some the group from Integrum, and we had Mike Jenks on. Actually, you weren't on that episode. Katie helped me with that one, but it was the bone integration. Kind of like your dental implants, that sort of thing, but it's an implant for a knee and a foot. And so they were there and got to meet some of their patient models and such. And it really is an amazing technology. So I'm excited to see where that technology goes in the future. I mean, I think it's kind of at a point now where it's going to start snowballing into popularity, because there are a lot of issues with depending on your amputation length, the socket fittings can be difficult. And so if you can
also the fact that we're amputating people the same way we're doing this during the First World War, essentially. And there's like a complete disconnect. Like, I'm just going to amputate this dude, and then I'll give him to you like 3 weeks later. And it's like it's really crazy if you think about it, how important that is day to day, and how much people's comfort and the tiredness and just the overall pain level can be affected by how they do this. And also you're like, what you can do. Can you play tennis?
Right.
Maybe not. And then if we do it the other way, then maybe you can never play tennis again. That kind of stuff. Yeah. A better way is needs to become in a more coordinated way, where we're all like talking about what is the best way to amputate this person. And what is then, if I do something like this as a surgeon, would you as a prosthetist do something different? And how does that work together? That's still the most shocking thing I think I found in all the episodes we've done. When a couple of times, when 3 or 4 times we come up with amputations, and how that's kind of like, such a like kind of like cost center thing where it's like, oh yeah, we have to do that. We'll just saw it off. Like, yeah, it's all good. And it's like, come on, like what? This is how you make the interface of the device forever, and it has so much impact on people's lives, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So I thought that was interesting. And then I know I said that was the last one, but I would be remiss in pointing out Point Designs with the partial hand stuff. They're always doing amazing work. Chris Baschuk kind of leading that digital team. And then we've had Levin on before as well. I mean, beautiful, very niche products, innovative that truly make life change happen as well. So anyway, you can't. Everybody was great, right? These are kind of the ones that float to the top for me, and I didn't get to interact with every single booth. Oh, there was a guy that had air conditioning essentially for your socket.
Oh wow, we talked about that before, right? How to put cooling elements kind of in there and stuff, and like heat sinking and stuff. So it was like air conditioning, like an active air conditioning. Like
so he does it in two ways. So he has created this gel that when it compresses, it takes out some. And I mean, it started going over my head. My eyes started glazing fast, but I was interested. But it's like when it compresses, it takes out some of the thermal energy and cools.
Yeah.
At the same time, but then there's another thing that he had that's a mechanism that's like some sort of film that he uses like a USB charger, like a charger that you would do for your phone, and literally you can feel this film that you put inside the socket cool. And what was interesting is Joe from Quorum, from the Quattro socket, he has a patient model. And that sweats a lot, that does like an MMA fighting style. Mm-hmm. And so they put this liner on him to see, how sweaty he would get. He said he was not able to sweat, and he loved it. And so I think it's a game changer. And I think that there's already some like because he's pretty far along in the development of the product itself. Mm-hmm. I think there's some people that are really wanting that information.
Imagine if like in Phoenix or Saudi Arabia or something, and everything's getting hotter, right? I mean, there's a lot of cities in Europe where it was like 40 or 35, 40 C. Sorry, I don't know what that is. For more than a month this year. So it's going to become a much more of an issue for more people. Imagine working outside in like a hot summer temperature or something. I think it's wonderful that somebody's working on this.
Yeah. We have a question that actually came in on YouTube that said, do you remember the name of that product?
Which product?
And it was called Rocket. I think it's called Rocket Tech.
Okay.
Rocket Tech.
Oh, the cooling thing.
Yeah, the cooling thing. So that was.
Yeah, otherwise I'll find it and we'll put it on the.
Yeah, I'll put it in. But and I remember the last name was Gupta, G-U-P, Amog. Okay, let me hold on just a second. I'm going to get it. Amog. There he is. Amog Gupta.
Amog.
AMOGHG, and then his last name is GUPTA. So let's see. His company name is Rocket Tech. Rocky Tech, not Rocket. Sorry, Rocky Tech. So we'll put that. I'll just put this in the comment here.
That's cool. Did you have any idea if it was expensive or not?
I did not ask. I actually did an interview with him too, and so he had that, and it was very nice.
It would be cool, dude, because I think the temperatures. Imagine working outside, dude. Right? The guys in Guatemala that you help with imagine, dude.
It would be a game changer.
Do some kind of farm labor type of stuff.
Oh, 100%.
In the hot climate.
Yeah, if you
as well. Terrible,
I think. Yeah, well, and I mean, I know this is kind of a jest, but it's like those other people that would be working in the field and such. I could just be like him chilling out, literally, and other people are just sweating like crazy. Like,
big
like,
difference.
Hey man, what's going on? Oh yeah. So
and I know this because I test a lot of 3D printed shoes lately. That's terrible. I can tell you that's absolutely terrible. So I kind of have an idea of how this would feel. At least the heating, the build-up heating stuff. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool product. We should talk more to him as well. That could be really cool as well.
So, I mean, we have like 20 people that we need to get on the podcast now. So we're like good to the end of the year, probably getting next year for guests now. But it was really great. So let me see if there's any other comments. I'm going to open up.
No, that's good. Cool. I couldn't open the LinkedIn without like it's just me hearing the audio of the LinkedIn, so it was like a little bit kind of complicated.
I don't see any comments in here. So for those that have hung in with us thus far, I'm going to kind of clean up this. I'm going to actually make this the podcast for this week, and then but then I'll post the best of for the LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, and also, I think if you cleaned it up, that one interview you did, I don't know if interview's going to listen 3 hours or whatever, but that with all these people like successively, that could be really cool as well. Like maybe in 2 to 3 or something, that could be really nice.
So do you think we should do that? Like release them at 2 to 3? Or
I think so. I think it's a really different format.
Yeah. Like, or do we release them as a one-off? Like we could do.
I don't think a lot of people will stick around for 2 hours. You know?
No.
I don't even like movies like 2 hours a minute. That'd be a good movie. So if we just did like an hour long, but then with 2 or 3 people, I think it'd be really interesting.
Okay. Well, I think it should be pretty easy to do. I was actually super impressed. So for those that are nerding out on like the equipment that we used the
Plantronics, right?
The Plantronics Poly something another. And then I had my computer open that was facing me. But one of the things that we figured out is if we did angles, so I had my computer facing me with the audio so I could hear the other person. And then I had my phone literally like this facing the other person, and they were connected to my phone so they could hear me and they could hear you. It really worked out really well. So if I had to do it again, this was a lesson learned. So the hotel, not the hotel, but the exhibit hall internet. I think I told you I paid $80 for 24 hours of access, and it was 3 megabytes down.
That's always going to be the problem.
And a half a gig up.
Always going to be a problem.
So I think what I need to do, I talked to Paul Prusakowski. He is an Uber nerd on this stuff, and he brought his own like literally suitcase Wi-Fi that had 4 different antennas, and I think he had 600 megs down and about the same up.
Can we pay for this?
So I want to be next to his booth. Let's do but
okay, we could just be nice to him. This is also different. This is good.
He might invite us into his booth. I don't know. So we'll have to check on that. But nonetheless, I think next time there are some commercial hotspots available, and yes, you pay per gig, but it's high speed. But one of that 3-hour episode, I think it took, I forget how long to upload all the tracks.
Yeah, but for me, it was really weird because you would be like, hey, this is hey, yours, yours already. And I'm looking at the screen going who is this?
Yeah. I think that's a good point. So
I'm like, I don't know. It's
yeah. No. But it was crazy how many people walked by and recognized yours. That was really cool. And it was
and what else did you have? We used StreamYard, by the way. We're really happy about the StreamYard, right?
So we did this is StreamYard. We actually did, because I wanted to make sure I captured all the tracks separately. I used Riverside, which is the Riverside.fm, to record both the audio and the video. Mm-hmm. And I think StreamYard would have been better if the live video, like what we're doing now. Mm-hmm. But Riverside downloads to the local computer and then uploads back up. And so you get the raw stuff. So I thought it would be better to do the Riverside, even though I was giving up the video for the live. Mm-hmm. I thought being able to chop up not only the video, each video, but then the audio, chop that up individually. I thought that was a big, potentially a big deal. So I don't know. I don't
Do you
know
have
if
like SSL2 or something, kind of like a mic in or not? The mics are just
No, it was Bluetooth. So all the things that they tell you not to do, but these poly
That's not supposed to work now.
headphones, I didn't even charge while we were there. It's got 25 hours of battery. So I mean, it was crazy. So for those headphones, I think were like $160. But like if I would have had this microphone with the SSL, it would have been wicked loud. Like this needs a quieter place. And so the way that I found the headset stuff was I was watching a YouTube video, tried to figure this out, and it was a guy in a coffee shop, and he does business Zoom meetings, and so he tried a whole bunch of different headsets, and this one was the best. Like you couldn't even tell. He had a decibel meter of the noise inside the coffee shop. And I was like, man, I got to get a set of these. And it was great.
You used two, right? One for you and one for the guest, or?
Correct. Yeah. So that's
two computers, right?
So I had my computer and my phone.
Okay.
So I think if I was to do it again, I would probably do my computer, but I don't know that I would record to the computer. I would use that to set everything up, but I would potentially do two phones.
Really?
And then do Bluetooth.
And with the Bluetooth, the batteries didn't go to, or did you have them plugged in all the time?
I had my phones plugged in.
Okay. Wow.
But so it was.
It's crazy. I think you did a great job. I think you did a lot of work, and it really paid off, dude. I think it was really, really good. It's way better. I've tried to do this a couple of times, and it's always like hugely terrible. And this is great. This is fun. It was entertaining. I watched back our episode we did together. And it was good. It was like, it was entertaining. It was fun, and it worked. It was a good thing to listen to. So I'm super happy with this, dude.
Yeah. Well, so, and I think AOPA was going to be happy with it too. So, I mean, I'm speaking for them, but I think so. And it was great. So I really appreciate you making the time. I mean, it was Saturday night late, right? Your girlfriend was probably like, what in the world is this guy doing?
Next time, I think we should plan a little bit more in advance. I had more of I didn't know it was going to be in the weekend, for example, because no one does trade shows in the weekend. So I should block book stuff like in advance.
Yeah. Well,
or maybe make it down there, right? That would be even better. Because Brent and I still have not met, by the way.
That's right. Yeah, we have not met in person. And here's the interesting thing is I do think that there's ways. I just didn't know how, like the exhibit hall and all that stuff. So we had to be a little bit more free flowing on that. But I think in the future, we can actually set blocks of time now that we've got the tech stuff down. We know kind of what setup worked, and I mean, I think I would even bring in probably a potential like a bigger like a big screen TV to so people could actually see it. So people could obviously see on that we were recording something. But I mean, what was crazy is we were on air thing.
We need like an on air like.
Oh, you should. I should have taken a picture of it. I had an on air. Well, I should have put it on the table, but I had a nice on air banner as well. I was really excited about that. Dale Schneider, we've had him on, but he does a lot of the graphics and such for us on that. So that was fun. So yeah, man.
Awesome.
Well, that is our show for today. Thanks for those that have stuck in there with us watching this live.
Thank you for listening, folks. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoyed going to AOPA if you went to AOPA, or maybe you can catch it vicariously kind of through us.
That's right. That's right. Well, and I think there was some of that. Yeah. And in enough advance, do you think you might be able to make it next year live?
I should be able to. I was gonna come, and there was all sorts of stuff coming up.
Oh yeah.
I did. I want to, and I definitely want to go eventually.
Yeah.
So totally cool. Let's try aim for it, or at least like block more times to do more of this next time.
Yeah. Or maybe we should try to see what shows are going on over on your end of the world, because I'd like to come to Spain too.
Really? And, what are the big prosthetic shows though? What is it? AOPA? What?
So you've got AOPA, the Academy show. and then you've got OT World is the big one that I think is every 2 years.
Okay.
So it won't be till 2026. And I don't know. So there's an International Society of Orthotists and Prosthetists that is, but I think that show is in Houston this year. And it's while I'm in Guatemala.
Okay.
But they usually like go around to different places too. So, that might be an interesting one too. Typically the people that go
20,000 visitors. Look at the OT World thing, dude.
The OT will be a big one. That's like the Form Next for
the thing. And where is it? We don't know.
I don't know where the OT World's going to be.
Leipzig. Leipzig is pretty. It's kind of boring, but it's pretty.
Okay,
let's do that, dude. Let's try to go there.
So that is it. 2026.
Yeah, 2026. So we're planning a little bit ahead.
We should hit them up and see if they'd be interested in coming on.
I'd love to do it.
Because here's the cool thing about OT World is that you get to see stuff that wouldn't necessarily be in the American market. Yeah. So you get to see a lot of the stuff from Japan, China, that sort of thing. So some stuff that I would never see would be there because their market is more the European market. I think it would be pretty wild. So that might be a good one.
Let's look at that. Okay. Anyway, this is a successful experiment and a lot of fun. And this is awesome, dude.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for your time today, Joris. And
thank you for listening, everybody. Thank you for doing this, man.
Yep. Take care.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.